Programs you must know about if you are in new build sales on this episode of Major Money Matters. All right, welcome to Major Money Matters special episode here. I have some members of a team online today, and we wanted to get together and have this conversation because we're kind of seeing the same things as we're in our independent or individual markets. As we talk with new home sites and builder reps and really agents that specialize in new home sales, which is great. It's phenomenal when you're helping somebody get into a brand new home and the great work that you guys do. But I'm starting to see that there's some money being left on the table, and some families being left out of homes just because there's not enough knowledge about access to various different programs. So before we get started talking about the programs that we want to talk about with you guys today, I want to introduce who's online today. I've got team members from really all over the nation. Let's start with you, Nicole, in Tampa. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Nicole Diello.
I have 3 children, and I'm retired from the Marine Corps, and I'm loving what I do. I love helping veterans and just people trying to get into homes and build generational wealth.
All right, thanks, Nicole. Next up, Zack. Zack in Colorado.
Hey, how's it going? So I'm Zack, based out of Colorado Springs, Colorado, around the Fort Carson, Peterson Air Force bases, stuff like that. I'm an Army veteran, been back out here for about 2 years, really specialize in helping veterans use their VA loan and things like that.
Perfect, Zack. And finally, the guy that looks a lot like me, Marion Singleton, Arlington, Texas.
Hey, yes, I am the younger, more attractive brother of Major Singleton, mortgaged by Marion, here in Arlington, Texas, servicing the DFW and abroad, as well as the Houston area as well, just all over Texas and a couple of other places. So just happy to join the conversation, share some insights about builder sales.
So I'll start with you, Marion, on this. We've been traveling, been traveling into a lot of builder sites, having conversations with builder reps and agents that are, and we're exposing, different financing ways to them, creative financing methods to them. Can you talk about some of the conversations that we're having with these builder reps and some things that they are not aware of, as we have these conversations all over DFW, Houston areas?
Well, first of all, I want to express how impressed we've been going around talking to the builder sales reps at their knowledge and their breadth of real estate, but also surprised at how much they do not know and how much money they have left on the table by turning families away just because they don't qualify for their builder's lender. And we talk to so many builders reps and we see their eyes light up. We see them, we see hope, because they're saying, hey, I wish I had a time machine to go back and save, 4 families that I turned away this past month because our builder's lender couldn't get them into one of our homes.
Yeah, and that's one thing I really want to highlight and understand. I mean, if you're not, actually in sales, you happen to be a consumer, or even if you're a realtor and you don't understand how the builder's relationship with the lender works, I'll explain it to you as best I can. Now, you have 2 types of builder's lender. Sometimes you will have an outside company that develops a relationship with a builder, okay? And really, the only way that they are giving such a low rate is because of the incentive, the money that's being given to the in that affiliate agreement, the money that's being given to that outside company. Okay, and in this situation, number one, the lender is not affiliated directly from a business standpoint in any way outside of that individual being the preferred lender for that builder. Now, option number two is more interesting, where you will have a builder who basically, for lack of better terms, owns part of the lender. They have a joint venture with the lending company or something like that, and this is like a DHI and D.R. Horton. Okay, they own the mortgage company, and I will tell you what they do. They take money from the builder side and apply it to the lending side in order to offset. So they're charging a higher payment or higher cost on the build of that home in order to take that money and put it over to the builder side or to the lending side. So if you're doing that and you have an affiliate, you have a joint venture, understand that the builder is in the building business. They are not in the lending business. So they're not going to take a lot of risk on the lending side. Okay, so that's what I really want to talk about here, because they're probably going to have very cookie cutter, requirements. FICO score, maybe 620, likely 640 to 660. Typical loans of conventional VA, FHA, USDA, depending on the area. So they're typically going to have those cookie cutter situations. And that's fine. It's just that they're not being very creative on the lending side, which is where you need to have access to one of us so that you can be creative and figure out whether people fit into other boxes. Because at the end of the day, if you're a sales rep, you want to get paid. You want to close. You want to put people into homes. And just because there are certain guidelines that people can't fit into, shouldn't be a situation where, you can't close on a home or something. So you need a secondary option or a tertiary option for your financing. Okay. So I want to start with this because we've had a lot of success with this in the last couple of months. Let's start with DPA, down payment assistance. Okay. Sometimes this is the option that's not available through the builder's lender, but it is a pretty cool option that we can help people get into, and sometimes spend very little money out of pocket, especially with the incentives that are coming from the builder. So Zack, let's start with you here. Talk about some of the DPA options and some of the things that we have access to where we can actually help people get into homes for very little money out of pocket.
Yeah, so we do have quite a few different DPA options. The biggest one that I do like right now, we have a 5% option where they will cover 3.5% for the down payment. That additional 1.5% can go towards the closing costs if needed. So a great incentive as well to help with maybe a buy down rate or things like that people are looking at doing. That is one of the big options that we are seeing. The other one that we do have is the day one forgivable program, to where it's pretty cut and dry. There's no strings attached, no silent second mortgages or second mortgages in general attached to it. Really allowing the client to leverage a great down payment assistance program that has their favor in mind, with no money out of pocket, especially when the builders are willing to still pay for their closing costs. We cover the down payment, and it's just too easy of a loan to do.
Absolutely. And I want to make it clear here that all of these well, most of these DPA programs, I'd say 99% of them are FHA loans. So they're following FHA guidelines. And the only question becomes, minimum down payment on an FHA loan is 3.5%. So the only question becomes, how do we get to 3.5%, and how is that 3.5% structured? So that's a great point there. Nicole, anything you're seeing on the down payment assistance side, especially when we're working with builders?
I would say, when you're working with builders, the benefit to using down payment assistance with the builder, coupled with the credits that the builder is willing to give, it really puts the buyer in the best possible position with minimum to no money out of pocket. Whether or not you do have a, depending on the loan type, FHA loan is what DPA will be, but you can really be in a property with little to really no money down when you couple those two with the builder's credit and then our down payment assistance. So it really is a win-win for the buyer, first-time home buyer. And just so you know, I think a lot of times people think FHA is only for first-time home buyers. You do not have to be a first-time home buyer to use the FHA loan. So you still would qualify for this.
Very good point, because now we're seeing, and I don't want to get deep, that's a different conversation. When we talk about the LLPAs on conventional loans that the FHFA put in place, sometimes you're seeing situations where the FHA loan is a better option for the buyer than the conventional loan, because the rates are lower on the FHA loan. And if the rates are lower, with the builder's incentives, you can actually buy down even lower to a lower interest rate, stuff like that, to help out the buyer. So builders, I mean, if you're a builder's rep, or if you're somebody that deals in new home sales a lot as a real estate agent, just understand that if you have buyers that are saying, "Hey, I've got to wait until I build up a down payment or save up a down payment." I closed 2 of these on the 30th of last month, which we're recording this in November of 2023. October 23, I closed 2 of these, and both of those families, neither one of them, I did it on Zack. I did it on the forgivable grant with one of our wholesale lenders, and neither one of those families spent any money out of pocket to move into brand new homes. And then it frees them up to potentially do a refinance, because that grant's forgiven. It's not attached as a lien. And that's the other thing you got to be careful about in these down payment assistance. People will say, well, we have this state down payment assistance program or something like that. Many of those state programs attach itself to the home as a lien for years, and you cannot refinance. And right now, when rates are higher, why would you want to be stuck in a certain rate when you can't refinance? And we have more flexible options to do a forgivable, as you're saying, or in some places where they can't qualify for forgivable, they might have to carry a second lien for a year or something like that in order to help them refinance out of these higher rates into something lower. So multiple DPA, we can't go deep into DPA right now, but multiple DPA options, down payment assistance options. I want to get heavy on the acronyms, but it's an amazing option. Now, one problem that we see with people qualifying, another loan product, that we see people have, or another issue we see, people don't know how to work with business owners. And 2 types of loans we want to cover specifically, and you might hear this, and if you're a builder rep, you might hear from your lending, your inside lender or your in-house lender, hey, they wrote off too much of their income, or they did not file their taxes, or they're a realtor, because realtors are infamous for writing off all of their money, all of their income. So they have all of this stuff going on. So I want to talk about 2 different programs we have when we have that situation, our P&L program, and then our bank statement loan program. Let's start with Nicole. Nicole, let's start with the bank statement loan program and our options for bank statement loans. Tell us a little bit about this.
For a bank statement loan program, as Major said, oftentimes people write off too much money, or they didn't tell their CPA in advance that they planned on buying a house. So first thing I would say is, if you know you're going to buy a house and you are a business owner, make sure your CPA knows that this coming up year you're intending to buy a house, so that they can do your taxes accordingly. Second thing is, with the bank statement loan, you would just need to show proof 12 months of your bank statement. So if you have 12, that's not the only thing, but that's going to be the main thing, to show proof of income. So you're going to need to show 12 months of your bank statements. So I definitely keep that on track. Sometimes businesses move money to all different places. Make sure if you're having a business, you keep it within consistent with where your money is going to be, so that it's less sticky of a situation. But all you really need is those 12 months of those bank statements. And yes, you may receive a higher interest rate temporarily, but you can always refinance out. You just let your CPA, no, next year I'm going to refinance, make sure my taxes are accordingly so I can get into a regular loan. Either way, we are here to help, and we have the ability to make sure those situations that maybe seem unorthodox to a regular lender, we have the ability to do that.
Very good point. And we have 10% down bank statement loan options and 20% down bank statement loan options. A great option to help somebody get into a home, and then the rest of the stuff we figure out. Because, sometimes people will say to me, hey, Major, do you think I should wait till I file my taxes? All of us, I'm in DFW area, Marion's in DFW, Nicole, you're in Tampa, Zack in Colorado. All of us, as nationally, housing prices are continuing to go up. So if you're waiting till you file taxes, you're going to be buying the same house at $20,000 to $30,000 to $40,000 more, and really it doesn't make sense. Zack, let's talk P&L loans for business owners. Let's throw some things out there about that so people are aware of that option also.
Yeah, really what you're needing there is probably about 36 months of P&L using to calculate from your business and things like that. So that's typically what you're going to need, about your 3-year mark right there. It's not going off so much your personal stuff, but what is your business doing? How does your income look from your business, and records like that?
Perfect. Also, we have 1099 loans also, where we can take the income that you have on 1099s and use that for qualifying income also. Okay. Now, Nicole brought up something very important, like, hey, these are not necessarily government guaranteed loans, so the rates are going to be higher. And sometimes that's an objection. People are like, well, I don't want that higher interest rate. And when I say higher, what do I mean? Whatever the conventional prevailing interest rates are, you're probably looking at 1.5 to 2 points higher than whatever the conventional rates are. Okay. And I'll just be this. It is what it is. Conventional rates right now are about 7.5. I locked in a 10% down bank statement loan at 9.5. Okay. And that buyer was very interesting situation. And the question becomes, do you want to pay 20 to 30% to the government, or do you want to pay 9% to a bank when you're going to get a 1098 at the end of the year to write off that interest expense against your taxes anyway? So most business owners will say, well, great, I'm making appreciation on the home. I'm also in a home where, I'm riding a wave of inflation and appreciation continuing to go up, but I'm also writing off that interest expense. So it's like, okay, great. Not ideal. Don't really like it, but if I can handle the monthly payment, I'm actually gonna, not gonna be in my, I'm not gonna pay somebody else's rent or something like that.
And Major, just to step in on that, when you said the question becomes, my mind, the question becomes, we're not strong arming people here, okay? But we want to know, do you want a home or not? Okay. And if you want a home, then we're going to present a solution for you to get into a home. We are not sharks. All right. We are going to be ethical. We are going to present to you the options that you can take advantage of. But at the the denominator there, the reduced fraction is, do you want a home or not?
You're 1,000% correct. I mean, at some point, it is what it is. I mean, when somebody's talking to us, they've already talked to the builder's lender say, hey, you can't do this because of X, Y, and Z. And now they're coming to us and saying, hey, I need a home for my family. Okay. Now, I mean, do you want to pay a higher interest rate? No, I don't want to pay it either. I too wish that my interest rate on my home was what it was back in, 2020. Okay. I love my 2.25. It was great. Okay. Then we had to sell that house and buy another one. And we're not at 2.25. It's like it is what it is. Okay. But yeah, good point there, Marion. And I want to stay with you, Marion, because this is potentially a limited time product. Okay. That I want to talk about really. So reach out to us immediately when you see this video, because this is a limited time product and it only affects certain areas that Fannie Mae says that it affects. And we're talking about the SPCP and that program. Can you tell us a little bit about that program, Marion, and how buyers qualify for it?
So the special purpose credit program, all right, goes along with Fannie Mae guidelines based off of where the buyer currently lives. Okay, and and the program is amazing. New developments are coming out on it every day. And like you said, we don't know how long this is going to last. Much like rates on any particular day, we don't know how long they'll be down a half a point or they could be up a half a point. I mean, we just don't know. But right now, we have the special purpose credit program. So 3% down. Well, let's just start with the big thing, okay? A $5,000 credit at closing. All right. Up to a $500 appraisal credit, up to $500 first year warranty. Okay. And Major alluded, this is based on the zip code where the buyer currently lives. Program was originally developed to increase home ownership in underserved urban communities. And these new guidelines, when it first appeared, it only covered six areas. And this time, these updated guidelines are covering 21 different areas, zip codes in Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, over half of Florida. So you'll just have to get with one of us, a mortgage professional, to find out if that buyer's zip code is covered by this special program. But there are a lot of zip codes and large areas, so it's worth it to check just to make sure that your buyer can take advantage of an additional $5,000 credit at closing.
And I want to reiterate that, Marion, this is not about like, if you're a builder rep or something like that, and you call us up, it's like, hey, does my home site qualify? Totally irrelevant where your home site is. It is about where the apartment or rental or potentially house that the buyer is selling. Now you have to be one of the buyers has to be a first-time home buyer. Okay. So if you have somebody who just got married and it was one partner's house and the other partner they're buying this new place together, as long as one of them is a first-time home buyer. But it's not about your site, it's about where those people are moving from. That's actually that's the most important in determining whether they can actually use this. $6,000 from the government, and this is amazing. Now this is $6,000. Now I'll backtrack a little bit, Zack and Nicole. When we talk about down payment assistance loans, typically we're talking about a little bit higher interest rate. Could be, a half a point higher than what, prevailing rates are or something like that. But on this is not higher interest rate. This is typical market rates, and you're getting $5,000, $6,000 towards your closing costs. So the special purpose credit program, amazing program to help people. And the cool thing is you can actually combine this with the builder incentives. That is absolutely amazing. So let's say you're a builder and you're giving $15,000 and you're trying to figure out how to make the numbers work for this buyer and everything. We then come in with an extra $5,000 to potentially buy down that rate. Maybe you're buying down the rate, but you say, hey, how do I buy down the rate and cover closing costs and all that stuff? We come in with $5,000, actually a total of $6,000, and we make that happen. And so we can then buy down the rate more or cover the closing costs, and you're buying down the rate. Listen, I mean, working with one of us could be a wonderful partnership to help you get some things under contract and make some numbers work. So absolutely phenomenal. Two more things I want to.
I'm sorry, just to piggyback on that, Major, you as a builder's rep go from a possibility of a family not being able to have a home at all, to you as the builder rep being a rock star because you were able to partner with people who have a solution for your buyers to get them into a home.
Okay, two more things I want to cover before we wrap up here. One of them is what I call a no-doc loan. Now, that's kind of a misnomer of a no-doc loan because there are some documents required, okay? But it's a no-income qualification loan, okay? So, Nicole, can you tell us a little bit about that? And then this is essentially a Band-Aid loan, okay? This is frankly, it's an ugly loan, okay? But hard money loans doesn't usually pay. And by the way, we're talking about homes as primary properties. If somebody's buying a rental property, we can talk more about DSCR loans and stuff like that. Okay, but we're saying specifically to homes where the buyer is going to occupy the home. We're not getting in very much in investment properties. We have more programs for that. We would be here too long. Okay, but let's talk about the no-doc loan, Nicole, and how that actually works.
So the no-doc loan is, I know Major said it's an ugly loan, but it doesn't necessarily have to be ugly. I've done one. It wasn't really that ugly. And the reason why we say it's a Band-Aid loan is because sometimes you're going through the process and you think you're good for a regular loan. Let's say you were a business owner or you had some other form of income and something didn't pan out the way initially expected, but you still obviously want the house. So as long as you're having a 20% down payment, we can do a no income doc loan, which means we don't require any of your income docs. So a lot of the guidelines that are that we fall under for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac for income and to show proof of income will no longer exist. We'll be able to get you to the closing table, and with that, then once we everything with your income docs line up, then you just refinance into a regular loan. But it is definitely a loan that has the ability to save you, to make sure you still get that property so that you are not paying 20 to 50,000 over. And yes, you may have a higher interest rate. However, you still have that home. And I did just want to say one other thing is with just to drop it in the in here with the DPA. Major did mention the interest rates being higher. While they are higher, they I just quoted price went out the other day. They're only about a quarter of a point higher than the regular interest rate. So that's not too bad at all. So I did just want to put that out there too. But no
Especially
income
not
doc
bad.
loans, I definitely will save a deal.
Especially not bad when somebody's giving you, thousands of dollars. Now, the two that I closed last month, both of them were at the grant was 15 grand on a $400,000 home. That's amazing when somebody and yeah, they took a higher interest rate, but it's like, well, I get to keep my 15 grand. One of the families took the down payment assistance, says, you know what, we haven't taken a vacation in a while, we're going to Europe. They said, hey, is there anything wrong if I do this? I said, it's if you like it, I love it. It's like, but they got to save the money and took some time for their family and everything. So it's pretty amazing. All right. So one other thing I want to cover, actually two things. I lied. Marion, I want to jump to you on this because sometimes the builder's lender, the in-house lender, as I said, they're not risky, and they have their minimum FICO requirements. And if their minimum FICO is 620 and somebody drops below that for whatever reason, or if they show up and they're at 580, that the in-house lender might say, hey, look, you got to go, you need to spend 6 months getting your credit score up. But I know, and if you tell somebody they got to spend 6 months getting their credit score up, they're going to sign a year-long lease. The prices on those bills are going to go up, and it could price them out. And getting in now might be the only opportunity. So let's talk about our less than optimal FICO options.
I tell this joke. I tell this joke all the time, really. But Major used to call me Mr. 500 because I was taking 500 FICO scores and I was getting loans closed, in the 500. So I was Mr. 500. What Major didn't see coming was the market that we currently have, where there are a lot more buyers in the 500 range. Okay. And these like you said, risk adverse builders lenders. Okay, so they're not going under 640. They're not going under 620. Okay, on a FICO score. Well, I mean FHA VA I'm talking about a solid close, a very smooth process. We're talking 580s. You know, for maybe a bit more of a bumpy ride, if you like that type of ride. I mean, we can go lower than that. And we don't promise the smooth ride on those, but we're going to get you to the closing table. You know, so don't let FICO be a disqualifying factor for your buyer. I mean, this is your buyer. This is your unit. This is your paycheck. All right. So don't let these cookie cutter boxes put your buyers outside of a house, because we can go lower than that on FICO.
Absolutely.
Can I just say something real quick, Major, regarding that? So I did dip below the 580. I went to 550 with a new build, and that was the smoothest file ever. I was so nervous, but it was such a smooth file. No issues. We got to the closing table with no problem. So, like Marion said, don't be discouraged by the 500s FICO scores, because they can too purchase a home.
Yeah, and people will say, I mean, you have the devil's advocate to say, hey, I mean, if somebody has a 500 FICO score, they shouldn't be buying a home. And the reality is, maybe they have a medical bill or something like that, or some event. And right now, Marion's right. With the impact of inflation, people putting more and more on credit cards. Sometimes people are missing payments because just groceries are higher. Sometimes you might have a missed payment or something like that. And the reality is, just because somebody missed a payment, do we think that should totally knock them out of buying a home or putting their kids in shelter? Should it? No. So, by the way, for those people who are at that level and we're helping them to close, all of us are with those people for the long haul. So we're with them. We're connecting them with our credit team and helping them get that score up, and potentially refinancing them in the next 6 to 9 months, as that. But in the next 6 to 9 months, they're already in the home. They're already appreciating. The house is already appreciating, and they're riding the wave. So it's much more beneficial to them. Okay. Number 9. So we've gone through a lot here, guys. I mean, we've thrown a lot of stuff out there, but the last one is the BBYS, buy before you sell program. Okay. So this is a exclusive program with one of our wholesale partners. And Zack, can you tell me a little bit about this program and what the impact of this is on the new build?
Yeah, so the big issue is people that are trying to maybe step into a bigger house with these new builds. Their house is typically contingent on them being sold. So what this offers is one of our partners will step in. It's a 90-day guarantee. It is a interest-free bridge loan. So there's nothing being rolled in on the back end there. Essentially what they'll do is they will pay for the inspection on your current property, get photos and everything, kind of see what your current house is worth. Then they'll issue you your approval letter. It is non-contingent. Then you could take that to the builder. Essentially, once you go under contract and purchase your new house, or the client purchases their new house, then they have 90 days to sell it. Essentially, if it hits that 90-day mark in that unlikely matter, our partner will step in and purchase that property. So then we're removing the risk for this buyer. So then they're not getting hit with 2 mortgages. It is a completely non-contingent offer for them.
Man, it's a great program, Zack. And the key here is on a typical bridge loan, that bridge loan, first of all, bridge loans are extremely expensive. I don't like them for that reason. The interest rates are, it's sticky. Okay. So, you're looking at potentially double-digit interest rates on the bridge loan. But the cool thing here is that this is not really a bridge loan. It's kind of like a HELOC, and it allows the buyer to access the equity on the home that they are selling. Okay. And potentially use the equity on that home to put down on the new home that they are buying. Okay. So that's That's one thing. By the way, if you're a realtor and you're doing that sale and you're thinking somebody's cutting you out, that is not the objective of the wholesale lender. The realtor maintains control over the sale of that house. Okay. And you still get your realtor commissions and all that stuff. That's not what's, you're not being cut out. But 90 days later, if you can't sell that house, then the wholesale partner will buy that house. Um, there is a fee associated. The fee is about 2.4% of the purchase price, but it does allow you to remove contingency. Now, if you're a builder rep, and somebody comes in and say, "Hey, you're contingent on the sale of that home," then this is a program that you can use right now. This is only available on conventional and jumbo loans. Okay, keep in mind, only available on conventional and jumbo loans right now as of today. That program will likely be expanding further. Okay, Marion.
I just wanted to add to that, because there could be a perception that because you've gotten to this 90-day mark, that that the lender is going to try to undercut you on the price of that home, and that's not the case at all. The amount that the lender will pay at the end of 90 days is agreed upon at the beginning of the process, so it's not a shark move. It's agreed upon in the beginning, and then you go through the process. And if you should get to that unlikely 90-day mark where your house does not sell, then the lender will step in and purchase.
Perfect points. Okay, guys, awesome stuff. Great conversation here. Zack, some closing thoughts as we wrap up. Closing thoughts for builder reps and for realtors who specialize in this new build area. If you're talking to someone that's in the Colorado area, by the way, all of us are licensed in multiple states, and we have assets to be able to help in 43 different states right now. So if you're not in the area that we physically live, reach out to us, have a conversation. We definitely can help. But Zack, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, the real big thing that I've been noticing and having conversations with is when other people say no, us as mortgage brokers really are able to say yes with the options that we have available. So just with the different programs that we have here, that allows us to step out of the space of the normal in-house lender. Again, when others are saying no, mortgage brokers are finding ways to say yes. So don't be afraid to tap into us. We have a lot of resources and avenues to get your buyers that were denied or possibly being denied it back into the closing table with you guys, and not delaying, getting that house sold or anything like that. So we do have the options. When others say no, we say yes.
Perfect. Thanks, Marion.
Well, Zach's word is options. My word is going to be flexibility. We have flexibility to currently I'm working with a couple. They felt like their monthly payment on a new build was too high. And at that monthly payment, they were not going to be able to do it. Sure, they qualified, but the gentleman said, "Hey, Marion, if I make this monthly payment, my family's eating ramen noodles, and nothing against chicken flavored ramen noodles, but I don't want to serve that to my family all the time. Sometimes these kids want steak." So what I'm saying to you is there's flexibility for us to find another price point, and we're not chicken hold. I'll again use the box. Okay. We don't have to stay inside of that box. We can offer a different option, Zach's word, because we are flexible.
Awesome stuff. Good stuff. Nicole?
And I'll just add to that. As brokers, we're solution focused, we're solution oriented. So we don't look for why we cannot do something. We look for how to figure out how to make it happen. And just what Marion said, I do have a family that I'm working with, and they were with a new build lender, but their credit was under the 620, it was still in the 600s. And they did have a late payment, but one of our lenders that I'm sending them to, they said, this does not matter. And they told me exactly what needs to happen. The borrowers are doing it, and we're still able to get them to the closing table. The builder's still willing to give us the $10,000. So we do have a solution-oriented focus. And I think that's the difference that you'll see. We're not in that box that Marion keeps talking about. We do have, a globe of options. So.
Yeah, guys. Hey, thanks for doing this. And thanks for, I mean, as we're having conversations and figuring out, how to best put something together where we communicate this to people who are dealing in this space. We want people still to maintain the fact that there are options. And as brokers, okay, and some of you might not know what a broker does. Okay, we don't work for any particular direct lender. We have relationships with 110 plus lenders that we could send a file to and process that file through that lender in order to get to the closing table. So we have a multiple different options in order to help figure things out. And because we deal in so many spaces, I mean, I'm working with the down payment assistance person, and then an hour later, I'm having a conversation with the guy who's building a 4.4 million dollar home. It's just because it's like different types of clients, because we have different avenues. We can figure out strategically how to work with you and how to make the numbers work for a potential buyer. So if you don't have a mortgage broker that is an asset for you, we really welcome you to reach out to one of us and just have a conversation and figure out how we can partner together, because at the end of the day, it's about getting people into homes. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for doing this. This was fun. Great to hear your perspectives on things, and wave goodbye to the people. And we'll see you guys next time on Major Money Matters.